Hi everyone, welcome to your week 5 launch for Modern World in the Summit Learning Platform. So just to recap where everybody stands right now for the focus areas, the forms of government focus area, 8 of 22 of you have completed. So that's not a good number, we're not even halfway. And we're coming up on the due date for that. So I would like to see more of you at least attempting that for this week. It's okay if you don't get the 8 out of 10 that's necessary at first, but if you get a 6 out of 10, you just need to go back, watch an additional video, read something, look at the PowerPoints, and just show that you learned it and then try again. So don't be afraid that you have no idea what you're doing. I'm trying to walk you through each week and outlining exactly what to do. Some of you have moved on to the Enlightenment philosophers, and three of you have done that so far. For the projects, the numbers are even worse. So checkpoint 1 was due on the 5th, and only 6 of you have even started that. So you need to go back. Some of you have actually, you've asked for feedback on them, and I've said to stop and revise, and you're continuing to move on to the next checkpoint. So you need to first go back to checkpoint 1 until you get that green light on it, and then move on to checkpoint 2. So if you're one of those people, I will not be providing feedback for further ones. You need to go back and redo the first ones. Checkpoint 2 was due on the 12th, and only 5 of you have even started that one. So, and then we have checkpoint 3 coming up due on the 26th, and 3 of you have completed that one. So it's time to get working on the project. We're almost 5 weeks into school now. So at least be starting the first checkpoint. I'd like to see these numbers go up by next week. Attendance. Don't be this kid. Right now, if you are getting on just a few minutes here and there thinking you're getting attendance, you are not. This kid is sitting there in a building thinking he's getting attendance, but he is just sleeping. So essentially, those of you who are not working are doing the same thing as this kid. In order to be marked with perfect attendance each week, you will need to complete the weekly instructional launches within my course and all of your other courses. And you also need to submit work on 5 days a week or end the week on pace. So for those of you who are not yet up to pace with the checkpoints and the focus areas, you will notice that you will be marked absent for certain days. Right now, if you're not showing consistent effort 5 days a week or ending the week on pace, meaning you've done checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, and a focus area, I have no other choice but to mark you absent for probably at least half of those days. And it will be the same thing in your other courses too. So that is a change from this year. You need to be active in your courses. You cannot put this off. So get into the courses and start working. For today, I just want to discuss a little bit about the selection of evidence. And whenever you're working in your checkpoints, you're starting to work on argumentative claims, saying what you think happened. Here's what I think this because. So we're going to just discuss briefly the selection of evidence, going back into the sources and finding that material. Just leave that. Okay, so text evidence is actually going back into the source, into the text, and finding something that is going to strengthen your argument. So text evidence is part of the text that supports or proves your answer. If you're saying, I believe that this happened, Christopher Columbus founded America, and then you could say, I know this because, and then go back into the text and provide an actual quote that proves that. When you answer questions about what you've read, it's important to go back into the text and actually find proof. So you can't just guess, it has to be proof using the text. And then after you find the text that supports your answer, you want to, I know you can't highlight really here, but you want to make note and say, just for your own record, that way when you go back in, you're going to be typing what you found. So you want to say things like, the text said, on page blank it said, the author wrote, I know this because, according to the text. So these are all ways to use a sentence starter to respond to the question. So those are all good ideas. So if you were to look at this one and they're asking what causes damage during a hurricane, you would want to read back over your text, and then you could see the part that said, so you're just reading about studying the weather, and then you would end up just wanting to say that the damaging winds and the hurricanes, the heavy rain and high winds can cause a lot of damage. So you would say, according to the text there. So that's your evidence. So when you're going back into your primary sources, you need to be finding quotes that support your argument. So just remember, the main point being, when you're using the text to provide the evidence, choose a sentence starter. Don't just throw out random quotes. If you just put a quote in the middle of something without actually providing an introduction to it, it really is kind of pointless. So make sure you're trying to use these sentence starters to say, I know this because in the text, or according to John Locke, comma, and then put the quote of what he said. If you're asking what are John Locke's thoughts on government, go back into his work and find the direct quote that proves what his thoughts were about government, and then use a sentence starter. John Locke said, quote, and then write it down. One last small video about how to learn with Summit. I know some of you are new learners to the Summit, and I think it's probably really overwhelming because it is different from everything you've ever done. But different does not mean bad. It's just, it's different. So it's new, and it's probably a little intimidating. But I just want you to understand that the Summit is different for a reason, and it's just important to get started and start the learning.
At the start of the year, I was like, I can't do this. Like, there's no way I could do this. And then as time went on, she was able to kind of open up and ask questions. Summit Personalized Learning was all about kids. It's about their choice. It's about helping them take ownership of their own learning.
So what I want you to do.
Content's important, but it's more about getting the kids to understand who they are and how they learn. Our kids can articulate to you now what kind of learner they are. Am I kinesthetic? How do I learn best? I'm taking notes. Am I an auditory learner? They can all tell you. They couldn't in the beginning of the year. And I think that's one of the biggest things the kids learned along the way is, how do I learn? So it's changed. I felt like I've learned more now. So if I ever struggled with something before, it was like, you struggled. That's the end of it. Teacher's done teaching it. That's it. Now it's like, if I'm struggling with something, I get to keep learning it, and I actually learn it. Just to see that process change, to see the kids learn where the resources are, learn how to go outside the resources and find things themselves. They've changed a lot.
So not only is the Summit new, but you guys are like trailblazers. You're the only cyber school in the entire country using the Summit learning platform. So the people that created Summit are all aware of who CPDLF is, and they are very, very interested to see how you guys are going to be successful in this. So just be proud that you're doing something brand new. So I'm ending on the quote, if you never try, you'll never know. So some of you, as you can tell from the numbers, only 8 of 22 of you have even tried the focus area. That's not a good number. So if you're one of the ones that's a little intimidated, a little scared, just try this week. We don't expect perfection on the first try. We want you to see what you know, and then just take the steps to go back and learn it by watching an extra video, reading a passage, doing a slideshow, and then try to take those content assessments again. So it's okay if you do not do well the first time. For this week, September 20th to the 26th, you want to complete the Forms of Government focus area. You should also be starting the Enlightenment Philosophers focus area. And if you are one of the ones that have completed both, you can try the additional focus areas of Western ideals and early European democratic documents. And at this point, you should have at least started checkpoints 1, 2, and 3 of the Ideas That Changed the World project. So remember that your PACE chart is in the Google Classroom on the About page. And this is something you should look at frequently. All I do whenever I'm doing these launches is try to keep you on pace with this chart. So if you look here at 920 to 926, so by 926, you should have finished right here. So that means Forms of Government should be completed by the end of this week. It should have been done last week, but you have time. So you should be working on these 2 focus areas this week. So make it a goal. If you're one of those people that has not completed one yet, you should want to have at least one done. And then as you see here, if you just come across, you should also be finishing up the 3rd checkpoint. So make sure you're starting the checkpoints. I do have people that are done with both of these and have actually moved on to the additional focus areas. I don't believe many of you are quite ready with the project to move on, but if in the next week or 2 you have finished everything above this line, I will then and only then allow you to go on to the French Revolution one. So I just want to try to stay with pace so we get the most out of the learning opportunities. So if you need anything at all, please send me a Hangout or an email. And if not, have a good week, and I'll talk to you next week.